The NGO that we worked with on this project is called Consent. Consent already pushed for a positive change within the society in terms of sexual education and the redefinition of the crime of rape. However, they needed more data or robust numbers that would help them with pushing their agenda forward with politicians. So, when they contacted us, having no funding for the research, we did not hesitate to provide them with the research for free, as honestly we were quite surprised with learning about reality by the NGO, and we believed in the power of the possible change we can bring with the research as a market research and public opinion research agency. Anyway, let's hear from the NGO itself.
Hi, my name is Johanna Nejedlova. I'm founder of Czech NGO Consent, which focuses for fighting for rights of victims of sexual violence within the Czech Republic. I founded Consent because I was tired of Czech status quo, where the victims are blamed for the crime, not the offenders. One thing we've been trying to achieve in recent years is change in legislation. Czech society needs the act of rape to be defined by law as an act based on the absence of consent, not on the use of physical violence, as it is already in almost 20 countries and others are to come. Current legislation in Czech Republic does not cover the reality in which up to 70% of rape victims freeze, unresponsive, in shock, and therefore it is almost impossible to punish the perpetrators, the rapists. And as non-profit organization, we were very grateful when NMS contacted us and that they believe in the same thing, the need for change, and decided to carry out this research for us for free. Thank you.
We were really excited to be able to work on this project specifically with Consent. I personally am a big supporter of their endeavor, and as a woman, I can understand the issue at stake particularly well. On top of it, we recognize their work as super important because they are a very strong voice in social change. We see exhibits of sexism daily in the Czech public space, and the particular debate around defining rape and consensual sex is not taken very seriously by politicians, neither by the public. They do not see it as a problem. Reforming the law can be a fundamental starting point for changing behaviors and attitudes.
We sat down with the NGO Consent and defined our main hypothesis. Firstly, we wanted to see whether the Czech society already understands non-consensual sex as a rape, and whether this should be reflected by the Czech law. Secondly, we wanted to see if the Czech public has a realistic idea about the reality of sexually motivated crimes, how often they happen and to whom. And to see if we have the idea about scope, if we are as a society ready to really call for a real change. We also wanted to take a deep dive into seeing whether and what differences there are between attitudes of different Czech generations. And last but not least, we wanted to understand whether Czech men and women understand the consent as a crucial part of the sexual activity, and how do they imagine to look or work like.
We had a representative and robust sample thanks to online data collection. We know that the quality of data is also influenced by the design of the questionnaire, as well as the topic is very intimate, complex and individual. Therefore, we included open-ended questions to let the respondents talk for themselves and to avoid oversimplifying the issue. The open-ended questions were then coded under our direct supervision. We made sure that they are dealt with enough sensitivity. We saw that it's truly important to make sure that all the stakeholders are engaged in the whole process. The questionnaire went through a pretty long fine-tuning and piloting phase, during which we communicated with the specialists from Consent as well as the relevant politicians and members of the parliament to ensure that our wording is clear and accurate, and the findings will be trusted by both the NGO and the politicians themselves.
We don't know the facts about sexually motivated crimes or rape. As a society, we underestimate the issue. The necessary change therefore has to come from politicians or experts themselves. However, 62% of Czech already understand the importance of the consent in sex and are in favor of the legislative change. When we focus on the youngest Czechs only, the number rises to almost 90%. Majority of Czechs do not consider punishments for sexually committed crimes adequate, and even 7 out of 10 women call for non-consensual sex to be legally defined as a crime. Czech Republic typically underestimate the number of cases. In reality, there are almost 4 times more than we expect. 12,000 cases of rape happen on a yearly basis. Czechs estimate this number to be around 3,000 or 4,000. Lastly, most Czechs believe that about half of the cases are reported. In fact, unfortunately, only 5 to 10% of rapes are reported to the authorities.
We published a press release summarizing the research results, which were then used by major media, and the outcomes were properly medialized and further shared by all the stakeholders involved, including the politicians themselves.
And right now I'm standing in front of the building of the Czech Parliament, where we went directly to have a presentation of the results to the members of the Czech Parliament themselves, and made a press conference actually, which was live streamed by the major media. And about a month after the presentation to the MPs, the Ministry of Justice actually presented 2 draft amendments to the definition of rape within the Czech law. The final wording has, after 2 years, been agreed on, and political change in the Czech Republic is finally within reach, and it is directly linked to the conduction of our research. We're very proud of that.
For us, the research marked a fundamental turning point in possibility of argumentation. When Vítek and I presented the conclusions in the Czech Parliament, political interest increased. The research also meant argumentative support for the politicians who, thanks to us, strive for the change, and Czech Ministry of Justice has already submitted a proposal for real change in legislation.
A big challenge for us when going through the project was finding the right approach on how to talk to politicians, to the media and the public about such a sensitive topic. A big lesson for us and for the next time is that we need to better explain issues at stake with enough information and understanding that not everyone is an expert on the topic of sexual violence or even an expert in research and its methods. To further broaden the research, next time we would add an international context. Changing laws will not eradicate rape, but it's a crucial step along the way. It sends a powerful message about what kind of society we want to live in. That is a society where sexually motivated crimes are punished, and we sincerely believe that our research helped in providing that.